can see it in your eyes. But we're 7 kinds of special, so it comes as no surprise. Let me break it down, take it one by one, and tell you of our people through the medium of song. Cause when the war drums sound and the empire calls and the banners rise and the axe blow falls and a nation sings its battle song, 10,000 voices rise as one, and we sing for the Steiner, sing for the Suak, sing for the Calabasian, sing for the Mark, sing for the Steiner, sing for the Suak, sing for the Calabasian, sing for the Mark. Down from the tundra, out of the snow, where even the winter markers fear to go, from Ika's tears to the howling gale of Sidanya. Ice walkers, beast stalkers, masters of the riddle and the fireside tale, with eyes so sharp and mind so cunning, they'll kill you with the arrow that you never saw coming. It's the Suak! Heart of the nation, born on the ice floes, forgotten more lore than anyone else knows. When the storm breaks and the foemen stir, you'll see that real heroes wear fur. Cause when the war drums sound and the empire calls and the banners rise and the axe blow falls, then a nation sings its battle song. 10,000 voices rise as one, and we sing for the Steiner, sing for the Suak, sing for the Calabasian, sing for the Mark, sing for the Steiner, sing for the Suak, sing for the Calabasian, sing for the Mark. From the marsh and the swamplands, they rise. They'll listen to your stories, but they'll tear apart your lies. Cause wisdom isn't knowledge, wisdom isn't guessing, wisdom is interpreting the world so you can understand the lesson. They're the soul of the nation, keepers of the dead, whispering in ears, knowing what's said with a quiet little word, a gentle little nudge, or an axe to the face if you still won't budge. Calabasi! You wanna know your skine, you wanna know the way, you wanna fight clever and not throw your life away. Well, let me tell you something that the wise man knows. You got a problem? You take it to the crows. Cause when the war drums sound and the empire calls and the banners rise and the axe blow falls and a nation sings its battle song, 10,000 voices rise as one, and we sing for the Steiner, sing for the Suak, sing for the Calabasian, sing for the Mark, sing for the Steiner, sing for the Suak, sing for the Calabasian, sing for the Mark. 3 people, 1 nation, that's what I heard. I've told you of the first 2, but where the fuck's the third? Well, don't look at me, it's not my blunder. Wait, does anybody else hear thunder? Well, think fast, cause the end is near. We're gonna need a miracle to see another year. We need a wall of shields, we need a wall of spears, and we need warriors who know no fear. Mail-clad heroes unafraid to die. Oh shit, what's that falling from the sky? It's the Steiner! Of the nation, bringing on the pain, with iron in their hearts and steel in their veins. 3 people, 1 nation, birds of a feather. Hey Steiner, better late than never. Cause when the war drums sound and the empire calls
yeah, just ask it. We are, I mean, I should have said really, we are an utterly open book. You know, I decided, basically my history is I used to do this as a volunteer, and I was in a volunteer, you know, we did it before Profound Decisions ever existed. I was in an event organization where we ran events purely on a voluntary basis. And then I took the decision, right, I'm going to do this professionally as my job. And there was a question then about, well, where are the limits? You know, commercial companies don't operate the same way volunteer organizations do. You know, they keep commercial secrets. They put copyright on things. And I basically decided I wasn't going to do any of that. I wasn't going to copyright anything. And we were just going to operate an open book policy. If you ask a question, I'll tell you what the answer is. And you know what? We've never looked back. We've just never looked back. And once you get that into your mind, you don't have to think of like, should I answer this question? Because it's just like company policy. If someone asks something, tell them what the answer is. Cool. All right, cool. Technical hitches already.
There we go. That should sort that issue out. That's fine. Yeah, so I'm back now. So, yeah, Steve is quiet for once. They are very, very quick to point out when people are too loud or too quiet. This is really, really good. So, thanks everyone for coming along. Thank you, Matt, for agreeing to come along and do this. This is
my pleasure.
This is something that we've talked about and I've talked about for a while. I've wanted to get you. And we've been raided as well. Thank you so much, Nexus. Nexus is a illustrator. She's actually doing some drawings for Empire that we've got, and they are coming along with a couple of people and forming a little group as well. So more new players. So this is awesome. There are loads of questions. Everybody has loads of questions. We're going to ignore the trolls. So I'm sure Andy Raff is beside himself at the moment. So you were touching on that you did this. You were doing this like event organisation and that before you did PD. Was this? Did you have something going before Maelstrom? Did you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was part of an organisation called Amiga LRP, which ran a game called Phoenix for 5 years.
Blimey.
And that was basically there were 6 of us in the beginning, and then 6 was just too many people to run a game together. It was just too many egos. So a couple of us dropped out, through no fault other really than clashing egos and clashing personalities. Too many different views of how the thing should work.
Yeah.
And then the 4 of us ran it for 5 years, and it was a pretty successful game. It started with like 250 players, and by the end, I ran 2 events a year for 5 years, and then we had like 450 players by the end.
Fantastic.
It was quite something, and there was a big story arc, and it was really the prototype for a lot of my ideas about player-led games and player-led plot.
Yeah.
It's how I met Andy Raff, because he was a player in that game. But that was all done. That was just a hobby. It was just a voluntary thing.
So was that the start of the mistakes then? Was it when you met Andy?
Well, he was a player in Maelstrom actually, but then he dropped out after about the first 18 months of Maelstrom, and we invited him to join the writing team, and our game improved immensely as a result. So running Phoenix Amiga just was taking up more and more of my time, and in the end it was like I either quit my hobby and focus on my job, or I quit my job and focus on my hobby, and I went down the latter route. And so but because that had been a voluntary thing, we were like, this is a voluntary thing. It's always been set up that way, so it's been promoted that way. So we kind of brought that to a natural end, and then I said, right, I'm doing a new game. And hence Profound Decisions, professional LRP, because I want it to be really clear with everyone. This is a commercial game. I'm getting paid.
Yeah, no, I think everybody who's here listening, watching, everybody will be very grateful to you for that sort of escapism. We've touched on a few times where we talk about people need that sort of escape from their life. It's that you do your Monday to Friday 9 till 5, and then you get that chance to go off and be a wizard and knight, or in my case, a down and out druggie and stuff like that, sitting in the corner of Wintermark and things like that, and you get to leave the real life behind. So we are, I think everybody is very, very grateful to it, and people are saying they need the escapism right now. So everyone's grateful to you for what you do, mate. So be very, very proud of that, and I don't think anyone can take anything like that away from you. So, where did it all start then for Matt? How old were you when you first started, like role play or anything like that?
I started tabletop role playing when I was 11. I went to high school, and I was sat reading Lord of the Rings, because what else would you do at high school? And this guy came up to me and said, if you like Lord of the Rings, you'll like role-playing, come and join our role-playing game. And so I role-played for a decade, just tabletop, and I didn't really take much interest in live role-playing. And then ironically, Labyrinth got me into live role-playing. I went to a role-playing convention in London, and Labyrinth had a stand there, and it was in a hotel, and they'd done one room of the hotel as a dungeon, and you could go into the dungeon. You could make very makeshift adventurer characters and go into the dungeon and fight the monsters. And and I just got bought the book. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is role-playing plus. And I never really looked back after that.
Yeah.
Found a game, joined a game, then I joined a local club. Then I started running the local club, and then I went to national events, and then I started running events, and then on it just kept snowballing basically.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. So what was it? Was it D&D then? Was it your first?
Yes, yeah, it was. Yes, it was deep, and it was literally not even advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It was Dungeons and Dragons. I played a cleric, and we did keep on the Borderlands and got attacked by a giant spider. You never forget your first role playing game.
No, you don't.
So yeah, it was D&D.
No, mine was Vampire the Masquerade for me. So I came from quite a different sort of.
Yeah, later generation. So.
Yeah, well, I'm 39, and I started when I was 16. So I all sort of been off then. I got my cousin to thank for a lot, and I've got Kit Stangroom to thank for the actual LARP side of it. He dragged me along to Maelstrom, and I hated it with a passion, and I never came back. And then he came up to me and he said, "We've got this." I'm not a big fan of the big fantasy sort of side of things,
right?
But then he came to me and he goes, "They got this thing for Empire," and I was like, had a look at it. And he said, "We're going to make a marchers group." And I was like, "Okay." So I had a look and I thought, "Yeah, I could be part of that." And then he said, "No, we're actually going Navarre." So we went Navarre, and I've now been there since the beginning. So. So you've done something to a lot of people, especially me.
Yeah,
it's good. We're getting a lot of questions come through, so we'll go. I'll work my way back up to the top, and then we'll have a look. So Ben Wagner, he is a brand new player joining Dawn.
Cool. Hi Ben.
Not really. He keeps going on about glory becoming a virtue. So shut up, Ben. Keep it for the field.
You're doing it right, Ben. Good.
We did a virtues chat, and that was literally a topic of conversation for 45 minutes. It was quite impressive. He said, "What's been your proudest moment in the history of Empire so far?"
Oh, that's tough. Proudest moment. I guess. I think for me, it would probably be the Wintermark trip to the Calavesa swamps. And that was that was just like something I'd never seen in my life. And it was so amazing because actually all we did was create the scaffolding. We just said, look, we're gonna do a piece of plot. You're gonna go and visit the Calavesi swamps, and some inspired person basically went on Wintermark and went, look, you can get 10 torches from Amazon for 20 quid or whatever it was, and basically encouraged everyone in a 500 player nation to buy a torch. And I don't know how many people there were, but it felt like 500 people turned up with a burning torch. And I remember one of the traders saying to me, like, they're sat there as this thing goes past, and then they're like, are they just looping round us? It just went on and on and on. But for us who were out in the field waiting for it and to see it coming down in the dark, and it was just... So the set pieces, the Wicker Man as well was astonishing. I don't have a good memory. It's difficult to pick out, but there've been some just extraordinary moments where he's just like, and actually often our involvement in them is quite small. Our involvement is literally, we give someone a platform and someone goes, hey, I know how to make this amazing, and then some people get involved and it just builds. And live role playing works best when that happens. It's that's not actually at its most effective in a sort of central command. I'm going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do that. It works best when everybody. It's a bit like a barn raising. Once everybody's building the barn, it looks amazing. If you're building it by yourself, it's not so good.
No.
So those are kind of pretty epic moments for me. I've had some pretty amazing moments behind scenes, you know, when working with my crew and putting events on in some pretty ferocious conditions. You know, the first Empire, when it was, you know, the water was freezing in the pipes on the ground, and you know, we were up against it on a fairly epic level. That was, yeah, so yeah. But I think probably either, in terms of iconic scenes, it would either be the Wicker Man, which was just amazing, or probably the Wintermock trip to the swamps, which was just mind-boggling.
Yeah,
mind-boggling.
Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of so much chat. We're gonna have to. So, Dino Wookie, I'm coming in straight away with a new question of what does Matt suggest to do for a first-time LARPer at their first Empire event? You probably get asked that one a fair bit.
It's less than you think, actually. What would I recommend to a new? Spend some time thinking about your character. The key to and talk to a few experienced players. I mean, obviously your kit's going to count, but your kit is not the most important thing if you're a new player. Just aim to get some basic kit. Would be my advice. If you can make beautiful kit, and actually we've seen some amazing players coming into Empire, coming into LARP from a cosplay background and from other backgrounds, and you're just like, oh my god, that's your first ever live role playing kit. You know, I think back to my first ever live role playing kit, and to put it in perspective, I made some armour out of brown leatherette with paper clips pushed through it for studs. So it was brown leatherette like you'd see on a cheap sofa with paper clips stuck through. It looked every bit as dreadful as it says, and I was the bee's knees. I was like the man in my club because I had leather armour. So, you know, the costumes come a long way. You don't have to hit that standard. No. It's great if you can, but don't worry about that. But the key is to think about a character and come up with a character that's got a reason to want to talk to people at the event. Don't play don't play Aragorn, the dark stranger in the corner of the tavern, because there's 2,000 people in this story. Nobody goes over to talk to the mysterious stranger in the back of the tavern. They're too busy talking to everybody else. Yeah. And you just want a reason to get up and get out there and talk to people, a character motivation, something that you're going to try and achieve at the event. And I think the one thing that always worries me, particularly for anyone who comes from a tabletop background, if you come from a tabletop background, you're used to the world comes to you. Yeah. You go on an adventure and the DM goes, oh, you can see this. Do you want to go left or do you want to go right? What do you want to do? The plot comes to you, and that doesn't happen in a festival event. No. You know, you can sit there and watch it and it will all be happening around you. But you need a reason to get up and walk out there and talk to someone and go, hello, I'm trying to achieve X. Can you help me? And that, to me, is the single thing I would say to a new player, is to spend time. Who are you? Where are you from in the world? Why have you come to Anvil? And what are you going to do now you've come here? And if you can answer those 4 questions, I think your chance of then joining the event, getting into Empire, and really getting it, kind of double what they would be without it. So that is my, yeah.
I mean, something that we've talked about a lot here is, backgrounds to start off with became a bit of a running joke with the whole, oh, my parents are dead, I have my father's sword, and all of this sort of stuff. And we had a chat with Emma and Shek, and they giving people a bit of advice. This is what plot is. And you can do these sorts of things, and this is how you can go look for it, and all of that sort of stuff. So, and then from that, it sort of fed on, and I love to say to people, you're walking around on your own, you see a fire, just a few people, just ask, go and sit down here, you can have a drink, have a chat, because everybody wants to talk to everybody. That's the big thing. Take that one step, because everybody wants to talk to you, and it's a great piece of advice, I think.
Yeah, the thing with the background is that a lot of people will make a background that is, you know, oh, my parents were killed by a mysterious stranger. They think that somehow that mysterious stranger is going to appear at the event and be a personal nemesis to them. The chances of that happening are very, very small. That's your background is not primarily for us as plot writers so that we can lift elements and make them happen in the field. The background is for your benefit, to give you a sense of who you are, and crucially to give you a motivation. If your parents were killed by mysterious strangers, that doesn't really help you at all in Empire, because you're going to get to the event and think, what's the chance the mysterious strangers are here? Really? Nil. Why would nobody knows about them but me, because they're written in my background, so that they're not here. If your parents were killed in a battle on the Imperial border between Grendel or Druge or whatever, suddenly you're like, okay, I don't like the Druge. I want to move Imperial policy so that we're looking to persecute a war against the Druge. Maybe your parents were killed by the Feni and you want to get the Marchers to band together and drive the Feni out of their territory and solve that problem once and for all. The point is, if your background gives you a reason to be doing things at the event, it's a great background.
Yeah.
If you're writing a background for us as plot writers, thinking, you'll write some plot for me, it's not likely to happen. Just because there's 5 or 6 plot writers and 2,000 players, so statistics are against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, with my current character, I avoided plot like the plague, because my first character was a Navarre general, so plot literally would be thrown at me. I found there's a lot of player stuff there. So my next character, I was very much, I'm avoiding plot for a while. So I avoided it for 5 years. And I've now got some plot, and it's really dumb plot, and it's great because it fits the character.
Yeah.
So doing a Challenge the Iron Duke, because I am, Mac and Grim, we are the greatest lovers in all of Anvil. So we're very interested to see what the plot team come up with for that challenge. So it's going to be good. But this is the sort of Do you find that a lot of when players get involved with certain pieces of plot, that the plot? I think someone actually asked this question and it sort of led on to it. That the plot team change little pieces of plot. They say, oh well, the players have done that. I said, this kind of works better now, and so we're going to run this instead.
Every plot writer writes plot a different way. I mean, that's the some people, like someone like one of our plot writers writes beautiful, elegant, intricate plots where there's conceptual things going on and you can poke it and discover it, and you can pull like pulling lines like needles out of a haystack, and you can unravel what is going on, and there's a mystery to be solved, and they write incredible, rich, detailed stories that you can unravel and open like a present. I don't write plot like that. I write plot in which, bam, something has happened. What are you going to do about it? Don't care what you do about it. I don't give a rat's ass. I only care that you're going to do something. So the Grendel turn up and invade Sardos. What are you going to do about it? The Grendel turn up and offer a peace treaty. What are you going to do about it? And when I write that kind of plot, I try and avoid thinking about the outcomes. I don't think, they could do this, they could do that, because I think if you do that, you instinctively try and fit the player's responses into the things you thought about beforehand. So you're narrowing the vision and your ability to respond very naturally to what the players do. So I don't think about it in the slightest. I just run it, and then the players do something, and then I go, right, okay, so this happens next. Now what do you do? So it's almost like a bid and response mechanism for me. Okay. So it's not a case of changing it to fit what the players have done, because if I deliver sort of point A and then the players respond with point B, and it's my turn to respond with point C, I hadn't worked out what point C was going to be. I literally give it no thought at all. I don't see any point, because it doesn't. So, but a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, plot never survives contact with the players," and I just think, "What are you talking about?" None of my plots go awry in that sense. The only way my plots go awry is if I go, "Bam! This has happened," and everyone goes, "Yeah, we're not interested. We're not bothered. We don't care." And that happens, of course. Not, plots frequently don't land the way you want them to.
No.
But that's the only way my plots go awry, because any other response is legitimate. So anything where you go, "Yeah, we're doing X, or we're doing Y, or we're doing Z, or doing something that's never thought of in a million years,"
Yeah.
is all the same. But that's my style of plot writing. All writers are different.
I completely agree with you on that one. I love to throw plot out whenever I run a game, and if the players choose to ignore it, it's like, well, that plot's still going on. I'm sorry, it's just going on in the distance, in the background.
Yeah.
I like that sort of thing, and I think plot is made better by players, because you'll think there's only a few ways they can deal with this, but then they throw out X, Y, and Z at you, and it's like, well, I wasn't expecting that, and then you just react, and it's I really enjoy it. So, I think the chat screen, we're like halfway behind at the moment, so I do apologise to everyone watching. We're doing well. Helen has asked, do you prefer being in a LARP or running one? Do you get LARPed out now that it's a daily occupation?
I enjoy them both. Yeah, I enjoy them both. I try. It is a busman's holiday going to a LARP, but I try and make a real effort to go to at least one LARP every year. And it's difficult because I work long hours, so there isn't much free time to go to a live role-playing event. And when you've got a family, it's difficult to say to your family, "Yeah, I spend 7 days a week running live role-playing games, but for this weekend, I thought I'd go away and leave you all to go to a live role-playing game." That can be an interesting sell. But I do try and make sure I get to at least one game a year, because I think it's really important to participate. I think I don't think you can run good LARP unless you participate in LARP. Sometimes people come to me and go, "Oh yeah, I only crew these days. I don't play anymore." And I think, what's wrong? Now that said, some people are. I am a natural crew. I'll always fall back on that role. But yeah, I went to a couple of games. I went to a Jacobite game last year that was just amazing, incredible game. And I wasn't sure really, was I going to enjoy it? I had all my normal sort of pre-match, "Oh, am I going to get into this? Will my kit be good enough?" The same, ironically, probably the same things that go through the mind of the brand new person at their first game.
Yeah.
But within about an hour of the game starting, I was in that world, and for a weekend, it was just, I was a Jacobite clansman planning the rebellion against the English, doing all sorts of dubious and dodgy things, and it was just amazing. So I think I can't say which I enjoy more. I love them both. Yeah. But they're complementary pleasures, I think.
Oh, definitely. I loved crewing. When I first came to, I played the first Empire game thanks to, I was very, very much unemployed and stuff like that, and so friends got together and they bought me my first ticket, and then I crewed. I was on, so me, Kit, we were on gate crew for a few years, and that was great fun. Loved meeting everybody, but then we found, no, we want to be around everybody now, so we slowly stepped away from that, and every now and again it's like with the last event where we had the storm, and I was helping the Red Caps, while me, Helen, Josh, we were helping the Red Caps, and we built that nice little bridge over, well, at the bottom of the woods, and we helped with that. So I think once you've crewed at Empire 1, you're always willing to jump straight back into it, and that, don't you? So I think that's the great thing about it. It was like one big happy family. Just to say hello to Max93B, saying hello, mate. I think this is your first time, so thanks for coming along. Do apologise to everyone. We're getting through. we've got one here. So this is from Fantastic Wolf 99. They haven't been yet either. What is your favourite nation?
Ha.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand.
I love Dawn to pieces. Jude, a friend of mine, Jude, wrote a big chunk of the Dawn brief, and then I did a load of the editing on it. So we kind of wrote that one between us. She did the work, and I did the polish, and I love Dawn to pieces. So I really, really like Dawn. I love Highguard. There's just something about that kind of confidence and that self-belief about Highguard that really appeals to me.
I suppose one person's got to like Highguard.
Yeah, and it would be me.
It would be you.
Yeah, no, I love Highguard. Yeah, I think Dawn and Highguard, they would probably, if I was playing for the first time, I had a free pick, it would definitely be one of those two I would be looking at.
Excellent. You caused a lot of joy in chat with that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are really happy you're saying that. Ben has actually said to me, I'm going to remind you of that endorsement, Steve. Well, yeah, I like this. I love the fact that everyone gets so passionate about the nations they're in as well. It's really good.
It's a tough question because it's a little bit like asking a parent which one's your favourite child. It's kind of, I love them all. I do love them all. Every single nation in Empire has got elements that I think are amazing and I really love. But Dawn and Highguard both appeal to me in a kind of on a very personal level. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rachel has asked, what moment of role-playing at Empire have you witnessed that has made you the proudest of what you've created? I suppose this will lead into, do you get to wander around that much?
That's challenging because I see so little of what happens at Empire because I'm so behind the scenes. I'm so far away from it that I don't really get to see a lot of the magic.
Yeah.
So for me, it's probably that Wintermark fireworm. That was just, I've never seen anything like it in 20 odd years. I had a little happy moment when we did the Land Sharks battle. Not the one against the Rhino, the first time we brought the Land Sharks out. And we were I'm a bad person because I like to mess with people's heads. So I was quite involved in the battle design and I said, right, I want to tell the players there's 3 Land Sharks. Because I was pretty confident. They knew we had a Rhino. I was pretty confident. I think, we've just reused the Rhino because we kept it out for like a couple of years. It's time to roll that monster out again. So I assumed they would think we had that. And I assumed they'd think, yeah, PD are going to make us kill it and then they're going to respawn it 3 times. Because that's how I'd think if I was a player. I go, okay, you've got a big monster costume. Yeah, tick. Okay, there's going to be 3 on this battle. Okay, tick. Yeah, that means we'll kill it once, then it'll respawn twice. Got you. And then obviously they rock up on the battlefield and there's a big column coming towards them and then 3 Land Sharks roll out. And that sort of thing gives me a buzz. When you can pull off that kind of stunt, I get a buzz out of it.
I loved the Land Sharks. I monstered for the War Rhino where Wintermark decided to walk into it face first. That was hilarious. That was so much fun to watch.
It was a challenging fight.
My favourite battle or fight thing that was created by some of the big monsters was some of the bigger Valorn that you'd made.
Oh yeah.
And this one was the larger tree.
Yep.
And they were very clever the way they did it and I still maintain this. They went and stood next to a tree and just leant against it, and they had all the poles and that hidden behind them. I didn't notice. I literally went and stood next to it and was pretty much leaning on them when they decided to move. You have never seen a strike down hit someone so hard and so shockingly. It was incredible. that was a great fight. And the battle refs that you have, they do such a good job. I mean, I've got so many stories. I fight so often, and like I get kit. We do so many skirmishes and battles and things like that. So many stories and so many cool things that the refs have done, that the monster crew have done. So I think my all-time favourite, that's definitely up there, right at the top, would be fighting on the Black Plateau and having the monster crew, the monsters. They were just hissing at a distance, and they were all wearing black. We couldn't see them, so that was like straight away. And then the magic of the Black Plateau set in, and the refs were just walking up behind people and just whispering in your ears. So it's like, they're all going to kill you, and stuff like that. And it freaked everyone out, and it was so atmospheric. It was incredible. It was really, really well done. Apparently,
I should say
chat said something, but anyway, carry on.
We didn't make those costumes. They were made by Mandala, our very, very talented friends at Mandala. But yes, they are very cool costumes.
They are really.
Go on, what's the next question?
Really cool. So, where are we at? So this is the unimprobable one. What sort of character would you play in Empire if you weren't running it? I think I know where this one's going to go.
Yeah. I would play someone who, I mean, probably if I was, I know what I would play if I was coming to the game as someone who was fairly new to LARP and fairly new to sort of big festival LARPs, because when I first started going to events, I played someone who wanted to become a general. That concept that you could be there and commanding troops on a battle and planning your strategy and your tactics, it just appeals to me on as a sort of would-be tabletop general. That would just totally would do it for me. So my first thing is that I would want to be a general. And some of the game design of Empire is based around the fact that I went to another LARP game and never got to be a general for various out of character reasons. Like I didn't know where the generals were meeting, and it was not possible to find out. So things like the fact there's a military council tent and anyone can go in it are all consequences of my own experiences of games where actually it was very difficult to get into these things, and it's like, okay, how do we make that easier? So general would be my kind of, the Senate would also appeal to me on an epic level. I love politics. I'm a big political. It's just a buzz to me to play political games. So that would appeal very strongly.
Yeah.
But I might well get enough politics as a general. That might scratch the itch.
You definitely do. I can speak from
political.
I can speak from experience on that one. I had people around me who, because I'm a firm believer in, if you've got all of this plot coming to you, then I created this little group around me so that everybody could deal with little bits. So plot was going out, so I had a lot less to deal with. I hate politics because I'm rubbish at it. Steve is terrible at politicking, and then I literally got involved with politics for 3 games before I was executed. So it went down really, really well. But it was
it's a good character arc.
I can't go into a lot of it, but the people involved have a lot to answer for. But the magistrate was the one who made that end of that plot arc the greatest thing, because the murder and stuff like that, he should have just executed me on the spot, because I was a general and had all of these people going, no, he's great at this and this and this. He just went, okay, well, you're fighting in a battle tomorrow, don't come back. And that was it. It was brilliant. So at the end of that battle, I had all of the Navarre waiting at the end of that battle for me. They all came over and said goodbye as this line of orcs were walking towards us, and I got to charge them on my own. And that was my...
That's awesome.
It was incredible. So the greatest thing about it was, for me, was that I fell over about 3 feet away from them. I was falling over, and that one person in the shield wall saw it, so he stepped forward, so I fell into the shield. And then everyone just jumped on me. It was brilliant. Yeah, it's so good. But I got way too many stories about things I've done, and I should. It's not about me. So it's really, really not. But
war stories is the curse of LRP. Everybody wants to tell their war stories.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So what have we got here? So let's got Matt Daweswood. What part of Empire do you believe is the most misinterpreted by the players?
Gosh, I'd have to think. What part is the most misinterpreted? No. I don't know.
It's a tough one.
That is really tough. Nothing springs to mind. One of the things that's interesting about Empire is that we have a very close relationship with the player base, and we're very open in terms of, and previous games I'd run, we ended up in a weird space where we got locked out, and there was kind of us as organisers over here and the players over there, and we almost couldn't talk to the players. We'd kind of set Chinese walls up where we couldn't talk to the players. And the net result is sometimes players would get the craziest fucking ideas about how the world worked. Yeah. And we told ourselves we're not allowed to tell them that they're doing it wrong. They're doing it wrong. Now, nothing that you do is wrong in a LARP game. If you're doing what your character would do, it's fine. But if you're doing it because you think the world is X, or you think the world will react by X, and that's not going to happen, it's fine if you're comfortable with that in character. It's a problem if out of character you thought that, the world. So a good example in our previous game, you could do magic rituals, and you could basically pray to the gods, and the gods would send miracles.
Yeah.
But somebody somewhere got the idea that if you had candlesticks in your prayer, it would give you a bonus to your miracle result. This was not true. It was just not true.
No.
But in a world where you didn't know, or where the organisers didn't tell you anything, people would, it became cargo cult. People would be like, I'll be going to the ref, I've got 4 candlesticks. And the ref would be like, that's nice. Tick. Yes, I'll write those numbers down. And we were like, what are we doing? Why are they getting all these candles? This is bizarre. So the point is, but because we created those Chinese walls, we couldn't just say to them, hey, everyone, just so we're clear, I mean, do what you like in character, but just so we're clear out of character, the candlesticks don't do anything. In Empire now, we would just be like, hey, everyone, just so you know, the candlesticks don't do anything. Fine if you want to role play, but they don't do anything. So we don't get that same kind of crazy off the wall batshit where we and the players have a completely different idea of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what's the biggest. I know what I would say is the biggest. I know what it is. I'd say it's probably can I remember the name? The Grey Pilgrims, the Grey, the Highborn missionaries that are currently travelling around the Empire. Grey, can't remember the name now. Grey something, whatever. There is clearly a widespread attitude amongst the player base that they are some sort of intolerable, interfering, kind of outrageous, like some kind of virus in their nation of these highborn characters have turned up, like telling everyone what to do and what to think. And that isn't true. That's just not. We had to repeatedly go. No, they're like Kane in I don't know if you're old enough to have seen Kung Fu when you were a kid, but it's like they are these people traveling around the Empire just doing good and like looking out for things and trying to help people and generally spread virtue, and it's like they're just, and yet they've got this rep, and that's probably my single biggest frustration at the moment, that players have decided that they are some kind of intolerable, kind of almost like roaming killjoys, like funpires who are turning up in the nation and telling everybody to have no fun. And it's like, it's just a crazy caricature that doesn't bear any relation to what is actually happening in the Empire.
Some people have been putting in saying they're talking about glory. Glory is fine for nubs. Glory is poop. Not a lot of glory fans in chat.
Yeah, well, obviously, if you're not Dornish, you're not really. awakened virtuously, spiritually enough to be able to appreciate the value of glory and why glory is fundamentally, the most significant of the human accomplishments. Yeah, it's all right. It doesn't matter that you're not, you're not really able to comprehend that. Just the same way a dog can't comprehend why glory is the most important thing in life. It's just the same. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll be all right.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
I would love to be Dornish.
It's all right, man. We can't tell.
Yeah, does it show?
Just a little bit. James Cass has asked, how often does a player-led interact? Oh no, this was the question that I saw about the plot changing. Let's keep going. Oh glory, bloody hell! Will you make glory a virtue if us Dornish push it hard enough? So I jumped right ahead there.
So if you look on the wiki, you will find that the ability to make something a virtue is a power of the Imperial Synod. It would require a greater majority of the General Assembly.
Yeah.
So it's not about convincing me or the game team. You've got to convince about 600 or 700 priest players. And if you get the great majority of them to turn up and vote yes in the General Assembly, then glory is a virtue. We don't say whether it's a virtue or not.
No, that would be it'll be a lot of fun. I will hasten to add as well because we have a conversation about the vines, and there was in the Navarre chat that we did. I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding because a lot of people in Navarre are pushing for the vines to become an archetype. And there was a misunderstanding saying that it's going to become an archetype when nothing had been decided yet. So is it if players push hard enough for things to become a thing in game, it can eventually work its way onto the wiki, like the vines, just for example.
Just for example, a completely random example that you've just thought of.
It's just there.
A load of things players have done ended up on the wiki. The Anvil Field Hospital is on the wiki. The Senate Motions, the dancing club that takes place in the Senate on, I think it's Friday and Saturday night, is on the wiki.
Yeah.
The Imperial Necromancer, which the Conclave, the Senate passed and created, was pretty much, I get the impression, the driving ambition of one player. And a great example of how you can be like, I'm going to make this thing happen. And then one player can't do that by themselves. But the point is you role play with people and convince them and you build momentum. My guess is that, I'm not going to name that player, but my guess is that player was the driving force. That's on the wiki. So the game has hundreds of levers that you can pull that will change the nature of the world. Will create an imperial title. You can build a fortification that will go on the wiki. You can, you pull these levers, and the levers, some people want the lever pulled, some people don't want the lever pulled. You politic, you interact, and you convince enough people, and that thing happens.
Yeah.
And the world changes. There was a big concept when we were creating Empire that I call reflection. And the reflection is the idea that the world exists, and it's my job as the event organizer to sort of define it for you and go, this is the world of Empire. This is what it looks like. I will try and give you the most complete description of it that I can.
Yeah.
Then you're going to do something. I don't know what. I don't even care what. And the world will change to reflect your actions. And you will see your actions reflected in changes in the world. And that was really important to me. A lot of big fantasy LARP games, it's quite easy to the sense that nothing you do really makes any difference. The world never really changes. Or if it does, it's just changing because the organisers off screen are just changing it. It was really critical to me, the idea that it would reflect the changes that you've made. And the whole game is designed and built to give you mechanisms and levers and structures and tools to change the world. Now, archetypes aren't particularly intended to be one of those levers. They're not like, and you do this if you want to create an archetype. It's archetypes are complex. They're not very well explained on the wiki. It's a big winter job for us. We're really keen to do a major overhaul. And I want to do a major overhaul on look and feel. Andy wants to do a major overhaul on archetypes. We are arguing about who will win. We might try and, if we can, we'll get them both done. It'd be really nice to use this longest arc to get them both done. Because actually archetypes are a classic area where it's really quite heavily misunderstood, actually, going back to what Matt Dawes-Wood was talking about earlier. What are they for? What is their purpose? And what are they in the game world? And so the point about an archetype is an archetype is an expression of a nation. It is a conceptual identity that exists within a nation of hundreds of thousands of people, not within the nation of 300 Nadar players that come to Empire, that come to Anvil, within the nation of 300,000, 3 million Nadar that migrate back and forth across the Empire. An archetype exists right across there. So when you say, we want to create an archetype, what you're really saying is we want to literally change the culture of 3 million people. That's not an easy thing to do. We want to change we've come up with this idea that there are, what are they called? Pitch the names, sell me again. What's your archetype that you're trying to create?
Oh, the vines.
The vines.
Yeah.
The point is, you're trying to say to 3 million people who've never heard of the vines are a thing, this is what this thing is, and everybody should treat them in such and such a way because they are different to just being a Nadar healer. It's not just a Nadar healer, it's something much more than that. It has a social implication. Another example is the Grimnir in Wintermark. You can play a healer in Wintermark and not be a Grimnir, that's 100% fine.
Yeah.
A Grimnir is a healer who has sworn not to get involved in battle. So the moment you're interacting with someone who says, I'm a Grimnir, you have a whole set of social expectations about who they are, what role they'll fill, how you should treat them, the respect you should give them, and everything else. And what you're trying to do when you create an archetype is say, I want to convince 3 million people to treat a group of people differently and regard them as special. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's much easier to change the view of everyone at Anvil than it is to change the view of people you're not going to meet or talk to. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it isn't easy. It's not a part of the world that is meant to change. It's really important to appreciate that not every part of the world is meant to change. People kind of think, we should be able to create an archetype. Well, maybe you should. Nobody thinks, I want there to be a mountain range there. If enough players get together and say to PD, can we have a mountain range in the middle of Miarin? Will you put one in? The answer is no. No, I don't care if every player in the game writes to me and says there should be a mountain range in the middle of Miarin, because it's be like, they're in.
Yeah.
So
it's not.
It's not. We want to be very open to reflecting and responding to the things you're doing in character as your characters, and actually we try to ignore the things you do out of character. So if your characters create a mountain range in Miarin, if you convince the Senate to spend millions of tons of white granite building a mountain range in Miarin, we will totally reflect that. We will absolutely do. I mean, good luck with convincing them to do that.
Yeah.
But if that's what you want, if you want to do that in character, that will happen. But if you say, no, my plan is just to write to PD with me and loads of other players and go, we really want there to be a mountain range in Miarin, the answer is no. Not really interested.
Yeah. I have to ask, Matt, is your desk metal or something?
It is. Well, it's wood and metal. Why is it? Is it responding oddly?
Oh, it's echoing. You did one where you smacked it. Well, no, you moved your chair in rather, and I was just like, "What the hell was that?"
Apologies. I need a better web camera. I think I mentioned that.
You did, yes.
Yes, I suspect that if I bang it, everything. I am a very. My hands go, and I'm a very demonstrative person, and then I bang the desk without thinking that the camera is precariously balanced on it.
I'm the same.
Apologies to everyone watching.
That's fine.
So yeah, the point is, if you want to change things in Empire, go. If you want to create the vines, then the question you've got to ask yourself is, what tools in the world am I using to make that happen?
Yeah.
How am I communicating that to 3 million Navar? How am I convincing them that this should be something? It's not straightforward. I'm not saying it can't be done, and I'm not telling you how it can be done, but it's not straightforward.
No.
But the answer is not email PD and go, oh, we really want this. So like, well, nice. But
Yeah, do it in the field. Show us how.
do it in the field.
Show us how much you want it. Yeah, that's a great one.
It's not even about how much you want it, but we're so busy responding to all the things that characters do. We don't have as much time to respond to the things, we don't want to encourage people to come and ask us the things out of character. We want us to encourage you to go and do it in character. So we want people to be able to see that change happens in the world as a response to what characters did. And what the lesson we don't want people to take away is, if you want something changed, you just email PD. We're really keen that if you want something to change in the game world, you go and make it happen as your character.
Yeah, because I've had an idea for something that I put like 1 and 2 together in the Wintermark Calavesi area, and I've come up with another, like a little concept for something that I'm running with at the moment, and I've seen the egregores go, oh, okay, didn't think of that. I just don't want to see you doing this. It's like, no, that's fine. And it's sort of, and yeah, it seems to have been picked up a little bit, but I'm not under any sort of illusion that I'm going to suddenly see this on the wiki. I've got this is my idea. I've come up with this. If I can get a few more people to do it with me, then I've got a little group in a battle. That's great. That would be so much fun, and we can all go off and die together, eaten by a land shark or something. It'll be great fun. So, oh yes. Question from Emma Novi. Which is your favourite of the great houses of state, and why is it the Synod?
Very good, very good. Yes. I'm laughing because our viewers may not know that Emma Novi is intimately tied up with the running of the Synod.
Yeah.
Which is my favourite? Oh, I love them all. I love them all. I love the Bourse. I love the Bourse to pieces. I love the Senate. I love the Synod. God, that's really hard. It is like asking you to pick which of your children you love the most. One of the challenges with creating the houses of power is to make them all different.
Yeah.
And make the interactions different. So the Senate is representative democracy. You vote people in, and those people then make decisions. But the conclave is mass participation. Any wizard can turn up and get involved, and that has, positives and negatives. The a conclave session lasts for as long as people can stand it, because if you just think about it, it's inherently elastic. More and more people will come and join the conclave till it reaches the point where people go, oh no, this is too much, I'm out. So by design, it lasts as long as people can stand, and that is almost unavoidable in a mass participation house of power. But I'm still glad there's one in the game. I'm still glad that there's something everyone can get involved in. There's a frustration for me that the conclave isn't some giant amphitheatre with terrace steps and all the wizards sat on, looking down into this bowl where people are speaking. The Synod should be some gigantic cathedral with priests kind of walking up and down and having quiet, murmured conversations. The military council should be just some giant war room with, maps and little pieces for armies and people coming in with reports from the front. And I love them. I just love them all. Which one's my favourite? I've got to pick one because it's just such a cop-out to say. I can't. Military Council. Military Council is my favourite. And because the Military Council, if you're a general, you can do anything with your army. In the Senate, you can't pass a motion by yourself. You've got to convince somebody else to do it. If you're in the conclave, you can't pass a declaration by yourself. In the synod, you can pass a judgment by yourself, but it probably won't mean much if only you vote for it. But if you're a general with an army, you could submit any orders you like for that army, and that's just amazing. You can do atrocities, you can do terrible, terrible, terrible things, and no one can stop you. You take the army off you afterwards, but afterwards is too late. So military council,
Excellent.
because it's the most individually empowering.
Yep, definitely. Ben's asked, any advice for bringing a shy player that doesn't want everyone to come and talk to them?
Yeah. I mean, I guess my advice would be to ask them, what are you going to the game for? You know, live role playing is fundamentally a social hobby. So at its base level, my partner is very, 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 very shy, painfully shy. So she doesn't like role play because her idea of interacting with strangers is literally like root canal work. It's just like, no, that is no fun at any level.
No.
Now, that's not to say shy people can't LARP, but the obvious question you have to ask is, okay, cool, you're still interested. What interests you? Is it? Do you want to see song and story and see these amazing Nadar musicians perform? Do you want to go on the battlefield as a water carrier, or in the shield waller as an archer or a skirmisher? Do you want to go out on a scouting mission and risk your life to bring back valuable information? Do you want to be a trader, quietly sitting and buying and selling and trying to accumulate money? You've got to want something. Or do you just want to be a tourist? Do you want to go to Amble and just see this big, amazing thing happening? And so my advice would be, ask them why they are coming. And actually, this would be true even if you're outgoing and confident. Why are you going? What are you going? And then if you're that person's friend, help them try and do that thing. You know, take them to song and story. Take them to, if they want to see the military council at work, you know, basically take them and help them get in. Live role playing is very sociable, but there's lots of things that you can do as a shy player in LARP. Shyness is a disadvantage in live role playing, but there are lots of other disadvantages. Some people can't fight, some people have mobility challenges, you know, and that if you're someone's friend and you think, my friend wants to come to live role playing, but here's a barrier that will make it more difficult for them to get involved, talk to them about what they want out of the game and then try and help them get that thing.
Yeah, that's really good. But it's a bit of a misnomer saying the military council is productive, because from my experience it never is.
I haven't been, so no.
Okay, we've got another question from Rachel. Matt, what has been your favourite player-run store or establishment that has emerged from Empire, and why?
Ooh.
And why is it the theatre?
Why is it the theatre?
Not that I'm at all biased there whatsoever.
Oh, okay. I mean, I love song and story. You know, I think Jamie was the sort of the guiding force there, and then Gabrielle, you know, kind of passed the torch on, and Gabrielle's just, you know, I'm not into music in LARP. It just doesn't do it for me. My love is politics. That, you know, I'm always going to be wanting to know where the next political argument is. But everything I see and perceive about it is that it is done to a phenomenal standard. To just, you know, so that's something I look at. I think that's amazing. I love the newspapers. I think they've been amazing. I think they really add something, because I think that, you know, the different styles and different approaches, and I think that's just brilliant. So they've been fantastic. Senate motions, I think. I like the stuff that's unorthodox. The stuff that's orthodox doesn't, you know, it's like, okay, so people are trying to get a group of traders, like a cartel, together to control a portion of the bourse. It's like, that is, you know, that is what the game is intended to deliver. It's intended to be a game where you could put a cartel together to try and create the bourse. But I'm not then surprised when that happens. That's like saying, well, I was surprised when the players went onto the battlefield and fought a battle. It's like, in economic terms, the economic equivalent of fighting a battle is to get a cartel together and try and outwit your opponent. So I'm not surprised when that happens. I'm surprised when cool things that I didn't expect, or stuff that's really kind of quirky or clever. I think off the top of my head, my favourite might be the crazy shaman in the swamps in Wintermark. That I can't remember his name.
Shaman.
So terrible with names.
Shaman. Tony Porteous.
Shaman. Tony Porteous.
Yeah.
Who has these crazy, kooky interactions with characters, and he's created this kind of social role for himself as. If you look at the hero's journey, 30% of all fantasy stories of the hero's journey feature an encounter with a crazed old wizard who gives you some mystic bullshit wisdom that helps you on your journey. And Tony Porteous thought, what this game needs is someone to be that crazy mystic wizard who gives these heroes this batshit crazy advice as they go on their hero's journey. And chatting to him about it, it's just like, that is so clever. That is so... The realization that people are going through this game having heroes' journeys, and you can be this amazing part of that by being the backdrop, in a sense, to their hero's journey. I love that. I think it's just amazing.
He has done a fantastic job there. He has read my skein, and we went off into his tent, and he did his whole thing. I'm not going to say what he does in that tent, because it's so atmospheric and so good that I can't do it justice.
Yeah.
People have to see it. They really have to see it for themselves, and it's incredible what he does. And I love seeing Tony at 3:00 in the morning when he's drunk and he's talking about some of the stories he's told that day, and he is so passionate about it. It's fantastic to see. That's another one of the things I love about doing all of this is whenever I've had people on, this is the one thing that you pick up is the passion for the game, for the setting, for LARP in general. It's amazing. It is so good. So I can't speak highly enough of what Tony has done there. It's absolutely brilliant, and the crap that he causes is amazing as well. I love watching the fallout from it.
Yeah, if you're in Wintermark, if you're playing a Wintermarker, especially if you're a new character, you're a hero come to Anvil looking to make your way in the world, go and seek out the shaman. He will read your skein. He will unravel the threads of your future and help you on your hero's journey. And he will. He
really will.
He will. He really will. Because live role playing is about it's not about getting there. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
And it's about those amazing encounters that you have on the way to wherever you were going. And Tony is one of those amazing encounters.
Yeah. We've got a technical question here from GM Nightbear. Weapon safety requirements.
Right.
Will there be more clarification on the wiki on the specification of LARP weaponry, i.e. must have this much foam minimum on the end of the weapon, must be this thick minimum on this part, and any clarification on things like javelins? Is it a poo noodle lobbing, or are they more substantially built? Just find this kind of info hard to find as someone who is looking at building weaponry.
Will there be more information? That's not in our radar at the moment. It's not on our sort of field map for the next 3 months. Get more information on the wiki. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. The problem with the wiki is, I don't know, it's about 20 trillion billion words long as it is. And it could always be longer. There's always something that's missing. There's always something that needs adding. Something needs overhauling. If the weapon safety standards that are on there aren't useful enough, then I apologise. By all means, email. One of the problems that we get, is that those kind of technical sort of, I need this technical data, or I need this question answered. What will happen is, someone will email in and I'll go, all right, I don't know the answer to this, so I'll talk to the weapon check team and I'll get the answer for them from the weapon check team and I'll send them the answer to them. If I get that question in a second time, I'll think, okay, maybe we need to put this answer on the wiki because this is a set, So there's a sense in which the questions that I get in through my inbox guide that kind of development of the wiki. So email it in. I'll try and get you some answers. And then if that happens a bit in the next 6 months, I'll be like, oh, right, okay, I need to update the wiki. So that is one way that as a player you can get what you want on the wiki, is to send in out-of-character technical questions.
I've got Darren Stocker coming on to do a chat as well about that, so that's probably a question better suited for that sort of stream because he makes so many.
There's an element, right, and I don't mean to sound patronising. I used to make my own Larp weapons, and I made artistically dull but ruggedly safe Larp weapons. Yeah. When I started out, there were actually good guides online. You could just go and download them, and they're not as present now, which is a real shame. No. But in some ways, if you're aiming for the minimums as your first Larp weapon, you're probably making a mistake. Don't set out to make a rapier with as thin a carbon fibre core as you can and as thin a layer of foam on the striking because you want to get the weight down as low as you possibly can, because the slightest mistake and you'll mess it up, it won't pass weapon check, and to what end? If you're making your first few weapons, my advice would be make something solid and durable that's bang in the middle of the safety criteria so that you've got lots of tolerance to get it wrong.
Yep. And
actually speak to someone like Stocker and say, I'm looking to make my first weapon, I'm looking to make a sword. What do you recommend for me as I use for the core? What sort of foam what thickness of foam would you recommend? He will give you brilliant advice, probably. Darren is very enthusiastic and incredibly talented and incredibly experienced. He is one of my go-tos. If I want to buy a weapon, I go to Darren. He makes a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful kit. Very safe, very durable. So in a way, you're almost better getting advice from weapon makers than you are from PD. And we can give you advice. We can go and check the specs and go, oh well, we demand 6mm on a non-striking surface and 12mm on. I don't know what the numbers are, but actually, that won't necessarily help you make your first weapon. And I think if you're aiming to make your first few weapons, you're better talking to an experienced weapon maker and getting some advice and guidance and going, all right, I'm going to make this.
Yeah.
And being well away from the tolerances of minimums.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so moving away from the technical then, Helen's asked, if you could create or play any LARP, what would it be and what theme would it be? So if money was no issue, I'd say, to this one.
I mean, the oldest truism in the book is that every LARP organizer runs the game they want to play. Right? That is the central kind of problem of LARP, that the organizer is always running the game that they would want to play. I love fantasy. I just love it to bits. I love big battles. I love them. I love politics. I just adore politics. I love, rich, detailed worlds. So if I could play any LARP, I'd like to play a mass participation game set in a unique fantasy world that's rich and well detailed and has battles and politics. And you'd be like, oh, that sounds a lot like Empire. And it's like, well, that's not that surprising. No. You build the game you'd love to run. And the thing is, there's a kind of a logic to that. If you're going to create a LARP game, you've got two possible choices. You can either create the game you think everyone else wants to play, but so you're trying to do a sort of guessing game. I suppose if we were sort of Disney, you'd do market research. We've asked 20,000 people, and they said they like more Mickey and less Donald. We don't do that. We don't do that for a whole set of reasons, but partly because I just don't think it's very artistically valid. What my team do is go, this is what I would love in LARP. Man, this would blow my mind. Let's do this. And let's hope that some other people like it. And if they do, great, we got a LARP game. And if they don't, I'll go and be an accountant. Well, accountant, but database programmer in my case.
Yeah.
And the perfect game for me right now would look like Empire. I went to Jacobite. That's again a game I took. Jacobite was a very historical game.
Yeah.
Now I'm a history atheist. I don't believe anything that happened before last Tuesday is real. Right? I don't believe any of it. So a historical game that's very historically accurate and based on history isn't my buzz. It's not my jam because I don't believe anything before last Tuesday. But I loved the game because it was rich and political and had intrigue and drama and lots of PvP politics. So I look for things structurally in a game, and I look for the things I can enjoy in a game. But yeah, if I had to put everything I love together, it would be Empire. If money was no object, it would just be Empire on a dedicated site with beautiful sets. You know, Anvil would just be this amazing town, city thing, seat of the government. It would be
because I remember turning up to Anvil for the first time and seeing the forge as it was. You could go and sit upstairs and loved it. Absolutely loved everything about it. And everything that you've made with that, you actually had that street, didn't you? Where you could walk out. You had the forge, the Senate, you had military, you had everything there, and it was really nice. So that'd be wonderful. That'd be so good.
Years ago, actually around the time that we were creating Empire, actually it would be about that time. Maybe a little bit after. I took my daughter. My daughter was a big Mickey Mouse fan, and we took her to Euro Disney. And I expected to hate it. I thought, I'm going to loathe this crass American commercialism with a healthy dose of Mickey Mouse. What's not to hate about that? And I loved it. I was just entranced. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And why did I love it? Because they've created a world. They've created a world, and you walk into this world, and there are amazing sets and giant castles and towers, and you can walk up them, and Mickey Mouse walks down the street, and there are parades of Disney characters, and I can't stand Mickey Mouse, but it didn't matter because as a live role player, as an organizer, I was just in awe of the scale and the and it was just like, oh man, I want this for Empire. I want this world that you physically walk through. I want it. Yeah, I want it so bad.
Is there any update on a permanent site at all?
The constant. It's like the never-ending goal. It feels like when those fantasy authors produce a trilogy, and there's like a quest in it, and you think the quest is going to come to a successful conclusion at the end of the trilogy, but then it's been a successful trilogy, so the publisher goes, no, we want another 6 books. So somehow they don't quite make it at the end of they don't manage their quest. Then there's another trilogy, and then another trilogy, as they're constantly chasing this thing. Feels like trying to get a site for Empire has been like that. We got so close. We got really close a few years back when we nearly signed a deal with a big charity to get like a long-term lease, and it was going to be a real big partnership because they were a charity all about getting people into woodlands and getting the public to appreciate and enjoy woodlands, and we're all about the woodlands. So it was going to be just this beautiful partnership, and that fell apart at the last minute, as these things do. And then at the start of this year, Empire was so successful last year, so mind-bogglingly successful last year, that we were like, okay, this has changed the paradigm. This has, things are different now. And we started to put together serious plans for finance. We got involved with, big legal companies, drawing up all the ownership structures. We put a board of directors, and we were basically building out and kind of fleshing out all of the things we would need to purchase, develop, run a company, create a company that would purchase and develop and run a site. And that was just going phenomenally well. And then COVID happened. So we were the plane was taxiing down the runway, and it's like, is this it? Will it get off the ground? And then we just smashed straight into an epidemic. So I'm back to saying I don't know. At the point where we've got events, and we know sort of how much long-term damage we've experienced, and we know kind of where we are and what's happening again.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a better view. But yeah, it was incredibly frustrating. I was at the level of talking to investors and having meetings with investors, and meeting with land agents and all the rest of it. And it was really, the next stage was going to be starting talking to the councils and looking seriously at pieces of land with a view to the whole development plan. Because a lot of people think, oh, just get a piece of land and we'll move on and run our events there. And it's like, well, yeah, it's not really going to work for us. If we want Disneyland, if you want to rock up to Anvil and there is a 2-story tavern and there is a giant Senate building and there's an amphitheatre, and those things will take years, but if you ever want that to happen, we have to have that concept in place before you can't just buy the land and then just go, hopefully it'll all work out for the best. Planning is a big deal. The councils will be a big deal. We're going to need a council to be on board with the idea that 20,000 visitors a year are going to come to a site, because we're not just going to run our events there. We're going to want to make it available to the hobby all year round. So thousands and thousands of people are going to come. There's a lot. Point is, there's a lot involved.
Yeah.
Are we any closer? Currently, no. Currently, I am surveying an airstrip with a crashed plane. I'm going, oh, that looks bad. Back to the drawing board. But we were taxiing down the runway with a view to taking off at the point where we hit the epidemic wall.
Yeah.
Sucks to be us.
So let's see what next year brings then.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what next year brings. I remain optimistic. Really optimistic. Empire was, we're in a position now where we could do it, and it can happen, and all the little spreadsheets with the numbers all make sense and add up. The previous times we've attempted this, it's been a wing and a prayer. And I've been very successful in my life with a wing and a prayer. I set PD up on a wing and a prayer. I've run it for 15 years on a wing and a prayer, on a kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to do it anyway. It's a bit, what's the film, build it and they will come. It's like, you just do it and hope it works. And that kind of works for a small live role-playing game. It works through an event. It works through, you can operate that way. When you go, okay, now we need £1.2 million to buy a site and then another £1 million to develop it. A wing and a prayer, not so much. No. Just going, nice idea. We're just going to go for it. It'll only cost us £1.2 million. Do the numbers add up? Does it pay? Will we be able to make the mortgage payments? Don't know. You can't. You can't
wing and a prayer that one. No,
you can't wing and a prayer that shit.
No.
But we have a finance director now. We have, the company is not the company it was 5 years ago in any way, shape, or form. It is much more professionally run because I'm not involved with those bits. It's just a much better run company, and it's more robust, and it's more disciplined in its approach, and it's much more successful. So it's there. We can make it happen if we just get 2 years without an epidemic.
Well, fingers crossed on that one, eh? That's the one we all want. Something like that.
It's the thing that will take Empire to the next level without a shadow of a doubt. Where we all want to be.
So Liam, I think Liam's going back onto the technical ones about weaponry.
Okay. Email it in, Liam.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Darren Stocker on. So bring your weapon ones there. So we're gonna do that, and then so come on and ask Darren and bring anything like that because he'll be able to let you know.
I've made an LRP weapon for 20 years, So you know, Darren makes 20 LARP weapons a day
Easily.
for the last 20 years. So I speak to him, not me.
If you have any questions, Liam, then
Email.
Rob Willett's email as
Yeah.
well, because Rob Willett's is on the weapon check team as well. So I think that's
Yeah.
so things like that. That's probably your best bet, there, mate. Okay, let's keep.
And I don't know the answers. I don't know what the minimum phone distances is. I can't tell you. So
Let's keep on going
experts
down.
can.
Oh man, they're talking about my green screen at the moment. I think I've been photoshopped. Excellent. I did Kai did a lovely Photoshop of me because we were talking about how players deal with if they have any problems with other people, and I came with this a very wonderful thing, and it simply just says let PD handle the dick, and it was taken the wrong way as well, and so it all sort of it all kind of flew up from that, but it was very, very good. But it's something that still stands. I very much believe. DinoWiki, will you make? Oh my god, have I scrolled all the way back up to the top? Are they reposting questions? Helen's asked, do you have a favourite piece of LARP kit or a favourite character that you've played?
Yes and yes. I think what you actually want is what were they? Favorite piece of LARP kit. I have a cloak that was made that I bought from a trader. Probably getting on for 20 years ago, and I actually own posher, nicer bits of costume than that cloak now. It's just a simple kind of fabric cloak with a wool shroud, not wool, a fur shroud over the shoulders, like a stole almost built into the cloak. But it's just absolutely shaped. Well, if you just get a piece of material and hang it on your shoulders, it won't hang right. A proper cloak is shaped, so it's shaped to the shape of a human body, so it fits on your shoulders.
Yeah.
I bought it from a trader, and she is sadly no longer with us. She died a few years ago. She was a very, very good friend of mine. She used to trade at Empire, and her partner still does. And she was very kind to me in the earliest years when I was just getting into live role playing. And she had this attitude that she never wanted her kit to be expensive. She loved people being able to appreciate her costume, and so she never made any money because her costume was always crazy cheap. But she was a wonderful woman, and I love that piece of kit because it reminds me of her. So that is, and it's it's not. So it's sentimental, and that's the thing. Once you've been live role playing 20 years, this stuff just gets sentimental value. It's like, crikey, the person who made that isn't with us anymore. And that's my memory of that person.
That's awesome.
So yeah, do I have a favourite character? Yeah, I've got loads, loads and loads and loads. I like to play very bad people when I live role play. You talked earlier about escapism, and it sounds ridiculous, but I try to be a good person in real life. I don't try to be a paladin in LARP. I try to be a good person in real life. I try to be honest and hardworking and faithful and loyal to my friends, and I try to be the things I think everybody in real life tries to be.
Yeah.
So I come to live role playing for the escapism, and when I live role play, I try and be awful. I try and be the most awful human being or whatever that I can possibly be. And I played a Skaven. I played a Skaven called Tongue. And it was a sort of plot character, and I was given that character with a sort of 20 minutes, an hour's warning, and a bit of kit, which I sort of put together in the field, and it was like, yeah, go and play this, and I had to work out the characterization and who I was, and just trying to get into my head, okay, I'm a humanoid rat. What do rats do? They move around all the time. They're always active. They're hyperactive.
Yeah.
So I just built an entire characterization around that hyperactivity, and then you start to think, okay, rats. Rats have like 10, 12 children at a time, and then like 6 weeks later, they'll have another brood of children. What do you think your value about how are you going to value your kids if you have 12 at a time, and then 6 weeks later you're going to have another 12, and you think, let's say you're going to have 100 kids in a year, and you expect 2 or 3 of them to survive the year out. I once remember watching a guy on TV talking about human evolution and how much value we put on our children, and it's because of how much investment we make, and saying if we'd evolved like frog spawn and we laid 1 million eggs at a time, we'd have a very different view of the value of children.
Yeah. So
I played a character who had a very low opinion of the value of children, because he was just like, wow, 100 here, 100 there, it doesn't really make any difference. There'll be 100 more next year. So I played this dreadful, awful creature. A terrible, just appalling person. And I loved it. Just loved it. And I could give you endless stories like that, and they're all the same. They're all terrible people. All my characters.
Excellent. I think what I'll do, because we've been going for an hour and a half.
Okay.
I think
it's been a lot of fun.
This has been really good. If I think everyone was, I think we'd love to have you back on and do another one, another time, and we can get you on, and everyone can keep on grilling you, and that. So I think it's been fantastic. I think one of the things that I would love to do, and I know that you'll be all right with it, is I do where people like pay and stuff like that for this, and I've got a Patreon and stuff.
Yeah.
With with the first 50 quid that I make on anything, it's going towards paying for a weapon for someone. The second 50, I'd like to chuck it towards PD to give towards a player's ticket or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Do a competition or something. So if we'll come up with something.
Win a ticket.
Well, win 50 quid towards a ticket. So it's something like that. So we can do something, and then PD can put something out, and we can do it on the channel.
Yeah, that'd be
something
awesome.
like that. It gives more to everybody, and it spreads it all and stuff like that. So I think we'll do that as well. So thanks everyone for coming along and watching us prattle on.
Yeah, and I apologise for telling far too many war stories. As I think you mentioned, they are the epitome of everything that's wrong with our hobby.
Definitely, yeah. It's but they're the best stories though, especially in the tavern over a couple of pints.
If you're new to live role playing, it can be really weird listening to people tell the stories. But the thing is, it's like going to a cinema and seeing an amazing film, but actually, because it's live role playing, we created all. The film wasn't that amazing, and the plot wasn't that good, and the acting wasn't that good, and the kit wasn't that good, and the props and the set weren't that good. But I was in it.
Yeah,
it was me. I was there. I did those things. It wasn't some Hollywood star, or it wasn't some actor. It was me, and the stories are amazing for the person. You get experiences that you can't get any other way in any other hobby that I'm aware of, where you are the hero. You do these amazing things.
Definitely.
And that's what I love about live role playing. But it does make for long stories afterwards.
Yeah, I think we'll do a stream with just people telling war stories. I think we'd be
come on the stream and tell your Shaggy Dog war story.
Yeah, we'll be here for days. We'll be here for days. So thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you all next time. I'm doing another reverse new player chat on Wednesday and a kit chat on Friday. And that's
fantastic. And thanks for inviting me on.
No worries, mate. Anytime, mate. Anytime.
Cool.